They say when a titan falls, the earth shakes. But when your father died, there was only silence. A cold, expensive silence. You grew up in the gold zone. Private jets for weekend trips. A penthouse where the clouds felt like floor mats. You never asked where the money came from because, in your world, money was like oxygen. It was just there. But sitting in this mahogany-paneled office, watching the lawyer's trembling hands, the oxygen is leaving the room. He doesn't hand you a check. He hands you a notice of default. He explains that the yachts were leased. The penthouse was collateral. The art on the walls? Owned by a shell company in Luxembourg that just filed for liquidation. Then the number hits the desk like a guillotine. $10,245,000. That's your inheritance. Not a fortune, but a black hole. And the banks? They aren't mourning. They are already at the door. How does a man spend $10 million he doesn't have? To understand your father's ghost empire, you have to understand the wealth mirage. Your father was a master of cross-collateralization. He would take a loan to buy a building, then use the projected value of that building to take a second loan to buy a private jet, then use the jet as a business expense to lower the taxes on a third loan. It's a house of cards built on top of a moving train. As long as the train keeps moving, as long as the economy is booming, the cards stay up. But the moment the train stops, physics takes over. Most people see debt as a failure. But for the elite, debt is a drug. It's called financial leverage. It allows you to control a $100 million empire with only $1 million of your own cash. It's the ultimate power move until the interest rates hike up and the monster you created starts eating you alive. Now, the banks expect you to roll over. They expect you to sign the bankruptcy papers, give them the keys to the last remaining family car, and disappear into a 9-to-5 life. They want you to be a victim. But they forgot one thing. You spent 20 years watching The Magician. You know where the trapdoor is. Day 1, the panic. Day 2, the plan. You realize you have one weapon the banks don't expect: information. In your father's old leather satchel, you find the master outline. It's a messy, hand-drawn map of his secret accounts. You discover that 3 of the banks claiming your money actually co-signed on a failed venture in Singapore. If you go down, they lose their license. This is the turning point. You stop answering the phone as a grieving son. You start answering as a chief restructuring officer. You call a meeting with the lead creditors. You don't ask for mercy. You offer them a deal. You explain that if they sue you, they get $0 and a PR nightmare. But if they give you a 5-year forbearance, you will pivot the family's remaining distressed assets into a new tech holding firm. You are teaching them a lesson in game theory. If I lose, we all lose. If I win, you get paid. For the first time, the men in the $5,000 suits look nervous. They realize they aren't dealing with a college kid. They are dealing with a predator who just learned the scent of blood. You spend the next 3 years living on ramen in a basement office, managing millions you can't touch. You learn about debt-to-equity swaps. You learn how to haircut a loan. You are stripping the old empire down to its bones to build something lean, mean, and unshakable. 3 years. 1,095 days of staring at spreadsheets until your eyes bled. 1,000 nights of wondering if you had be the one to finally extinguish the family name. But today, the silence is different. The debt is settled. The black hole that threatened to swallow your existence has been filled, cent by cent, strategy by strategy. But as you stand in that same mahogany-paneled office where it all began, you realize something profound. You aren't the same person who walked in here. The boy who expected a check is dead. In his place stands a man who understands the architecture of the world. You look at the lawyer, and for the first time, you aren't looking at a judge. You're looking at an equal. You realize now that your father's greatest legacy wasn't the gold watches or the penthouse views. Those were just props in a play. His true gift was the $10 million debt. It was the most expensive tuition on the planet. It was a brutal, unforgiving master that forced you to see through the wealth mirage. It stripped away the vanity and forced you to master the outline of the global financial system. The world will look at you now and see a success story. They'll see a man who got lucky, a son who saved the family name through some stroke of divine providence. They will call you a survivor. But they don't see the scars of the chess match. They don't know the truth that you now carry in your bones. You've learned the ultimate secret. Money is nothing more than a story. It's a collective hallucination, a narrative of trust and debt that we all agree to believe in, so the world keeps turning. Most people are characters in someone else's story. They work, they spend, and they fear, according to a script they didn't write. But you've learned how to hold the pen, and once you know how to write the story, once you understand how to manipulate the ink of credit, the paper of assets, and the rhythm of the markets, you can never truly be poor again. You could lose it all tomorrow, and by sunset, you'd already be sketching the foundation of the next empire. Because real wealth isn't what's sitting in your bank account. Numbers can be deleted. Currencies can fail. Governments can fall. True wealth is the internal infrastructure of your mind. It is the ability to survive the crash, to stand calm while the mountain crumbles, and to rebuild from the rubble using the very stones that fell on you. It's the power to play the game better than the masters who invented it. Because you've seen the game from the bottom of the pit. You've seen the machinery behind the curtain. You've seen the outline.